Let's try to derive the period of a simple pendulum right now. So to derive the period of a simple pendulum, let's try to see what are the steps that we follow to determine the period of a spring mesh system first. Then we'll try to do the same thing, but now on a simple pendulum. So for the spring mesh system, if we see our period is being derived here, right? Our period here is being derived by knowing this relationship here, and if you reverse engineer it, it actually comes from the angular frequency. So how do we get to know this angular frequency is by comparing between these two equations here. So this equation here, a the x component of acceleration equals to negative angular frequency squared times x. This equation here is the hallmark of simple harmonic motion. So we know because this is the hallmark of SHM, therefore we know it's true for all SHM. So this is a general equation. But if you remember this equation above here, this equation, first equation over here, is actually derived based on a spring mesh system. We look at the force, that the restoring force of a spring, only we know that it's negative kx, and from there we derive this equation, right? So this equation is derived based on the spring mesh system. So what we need to do now here is we need to find another equation to replace this equation here. And this equation is going to be replaced with an equation that is based on the simple pendulum. And once we have replaced it already, then we can do a comparison with the hallmark of simple harmonic motion and get our angular frequency. And from our angular frequency, we obtain our period and frequency. So what we need to do now is find the equation to replace this equation over here. So we know how do we get this equation over here is we first determine what is the dimension in which the oscillation is happening. In this case, the object is oscillating horizontally, so therefore we pick the x dimension as the dimension that we analyze. Then after that, we try to see what are the forces acting in this x dimension over here. That's why we draw a free body diagram to determine the forces that is acting in the x dimension. We determine it to be the restoring force of a spring. Therefore, we determine what is the x component of the restoring force of a spring. And once we know that, we can equate the sum of force in the x dimension with the restoring force of a spring, and from there we obtain this equation over here. So we are going to follow a similar steps over here. We are going to first determine where is the object oscillating, in what dimension is the object oscillating. Then we find the force that is acting in that dimension. And after we know we have determined what is the force there, we try to determine what is the x component of that force. Over there, then we equate it with the sum of force in the x dimension to obtain an equation similar to this. So let's try that for a simple pendulum. So what I have here is a simple pendulum oscillating over here, and we treat this vertical line here as the equilibrium position. So this simple pendulum here is oscillating and it traces out an arc, okay, a circular arc based on the motion of the pendulum bob over here. Okay, so first thing we have to determine what is the dimension in which the object is moving. So again, we'll call it x because as you can see, it's very similar to the x dimension. Okay, there is a little bit of difference, but we can choose to just treat it as x. Okay, so in that case, my x will be traced out from the equilibrium position towards the position of the object, and this distance over here we call it by x. Okay, so the object is going to travel in this x dimension over here. So therefore, we'll be interested to find what are the forces acting in this x dimension over here. So we are going to find what are the forces acting parallel or tangential to this arc over here. If it's at this point over here, we are interested to find what is the forces acting tangential to this arc over here. So this line here is tangential to the arc over here. Then it's also perpendicular to this line that connects to this string that connects the pendulum bob to the ceiling. So we are interested in the force acting in this dimension over here. This dimension is tangential to the circular arc, perpendicular to the string that connects between the ceiling and the object over here. So let's try to draw a free body diagram of the pendulum bob at this position over here. So we will treat this black dot here as the object, which is the pendulum bob, and we will draw one axis that is tangential to the circular arc. We will draw one axis which is normal to the circular arc, or in other words, along the string that connects between the ceiling and the object over here. Okay, so you know this object here has mass, therefore it has weight. At the same time, because it's connected to a string, so you know there will be tension. Okay, we label this angle here as theta because this equilibrium line here, it's parallel with this weight over here. Therefore, you know this angle here is theta, this angle here is theta. They are the same angle because this dotted line and this arrow here are parallel, and this inclined dotted line here is exactly the same as this dotted line here. So we know that they trace the same angle theta over here. Okay, so again, we are interested with the force that is acting in this dimension over here, the one that is tangential to the circular arc. Therefore, in order to obtain what are the forces acting in this dimension, we have to resolve the force over here. So if you resolve the force over here, we'll see that the component of weight that is in this dimension here is W sine theta, weight times sine theta. And this is the force that is acting in the dimension that we are interested in. So now let's try to determine the force, this force over here. What is its component, its x component? Okay, so this is the force we are interested in. So we will call this force as F theta because as you change your theta, then your force will change, right? So we call it by F theta. Okay, it's just a name. Okay, so for simple pendulum case, because when you change the theta, as theta change up here, down here, along the oscillation, your theta will change, then your force will change. Therefore, we put it as F subscript theta. So we know this is just weight sine theta. So weight is just m times g. Therefore, we know that the magnitude is mg sine theta. But because you are interested with the component as well, you need to know the direction as well. Therefore, you need to take care of the sign as well. So the sign over here, let's think how should we treat the sign over here. Well, our x is pointing towards this direction here. So this is a positive direction. But if you look at the force over here, this force is pointing in the opposite direction. So this is the negative direction actually. So you can see that the displacement and the force here are actually in opposite direction. So the x and the f here should have opposite sign. Now in this equation here, you know there is no x over here. So it might be a bit weird whether we can add a negative sign or not. But if you think about it really mathematically, right? Well, this line is the line where we start, right? So if we measure our angle like this, so this is an anti-clockwise angle, right? Remember angular displacement. This is an anti-clockwise angular displacement. So anti-clockwise angular displacement, it's a positive displacement. So if we substitute in a positive angular displacement over here, then we see that the force must be a negative force. So m is positive, g is positive, theta here is positive, everything is positive. How do you get a negative force? Or how do you get a negative force? You add a negative sign in front. Okay, same if you bring this object to this side, the other side over here. If you bring the object to the other side over here, now the angle is measured from the vertical line over here to the other side over here. So the angle now will be a clockwise angular displacement because the object is being displaced clockwise. So if it's a clockwise angular displacement, then you get a negative value over here. So positive times negative, you get a negative value. But if your ball is over here, then the force will be pointing in the positive direction already. The force and the x here must be in opposite sign. If your x is to the left, then you see your force later be pointing to the right. So your theta here now is, if it's negative, if it's up here, then the theta is negative, then the force must be positive. How do you get a positive force? If you multiply positive times negative, you get negative. How do you make it positive? You introduce a negative sign in front. Therefore, over here, there's actually a negative sign. because if your theta is positive, means by it's an anti-clockwise angular displacement, you get a force pointing in the negative direction. Whereas on the other hand, if your theta is in the negative direction, means by it's a clockwise angular displacement, then you should get a positive force acting, positive force causing the oscillation. Okay, so because it's a positive force, then therefore you need to add on the negative here, so that negative times positive times negative, get back positive force over here. Okay, the idea of this negative sign is to make sure the theta and the f theta here has opposite sign. Okay, let's don't go too far about this. So we know this is the equation here, but again we want to relate it to x, so you cannot just stop here. Okay, so how do we continue? We can make assumption. Okay, but this assumption is only true if your theta here is small. So therefore, the first thing that you need to know is that for simple pendulum, your angle must be small. Because when the angle is small, then what you can do is you can approximate sine of theta to be approximately equals to theta. We call this small angle approximation. Okay, you can try to key in. If your sine, you try to key in, let's say 5 degree, you change it to radian, then you substitute it inside over here. Then you do sine of 5 degree converted to radian. You find that the answer here will be similar to 5 degree converted to radian. Okay, you must do this equation here using radian, only you will see that sine theta will be similar to theta if your theta is small. Okay, so now we will change this equation to be f subscript theta to become equals to negative mg theta. Okay, again, this is still not x. We want to relate it to x. So how do? We need to relate between theta and x. And to relate between theta and x, I hope you are able to see what's happening over here. You can think of this blue part over here as a section of a circle. And if it's a section of a circle, you have your theta, you have your length of the pendulum string, and you have your x, which is the distance covered by this arc over here. So now this you need to relate back to your maths, your understanding about circle. You know that this small pizza shaped stuff, this small section of a circle is just a section of a complete circle. Okay, because you know this is a section of a circle, therefore you know that this theta, this length, and this x here are related to each other. It's just x equals to L theta. And because you know x is equals to L theta, therefore you know theta is equals to x divided by L. Now you can substitute theta with x over L. By then you can replace theta with x. So now this theta here, you can replace it by x over L. And now this equation here has x, and we can therefore relate it to this equation over here. Okay, so what are we going to do now is we are going to say the force, the sum of force acting in this x dimension here is equals to f theta. And we know f theta is negative mg x divided by L. So now if we equate this ma, the mass times x component acceleration, we equate it with negative mass times gravitational acceleration divided by the length of the pendulum times the displacement. And from this equation here, once you eliminate the mass on both sides, you get the x component acceleration to be equals to negative gravitational acceleration divided by length times displacement. And this is the equation that we are talking about. This is the equation that we use to replace a equals to negative k divided by m times x. Okay, so we're going to use this equation to replace what we have earlier over here. And after that, we do a comparison, and we know that omega square is equals to gravitational acceleration divided by the length of the pendulum string. Once you square root it, you know that omega, the angular frequency, is just square root of the gravitational acceleration divided by the length of the pendulum bob. So this is the equation specific for a simple pendulum. And because we know angular frequency, you can straight away relate it to period and frequency using the relationship that we discussed earlier. So if you derive the equation for period, you need to use this relationship here. You substitute 2 pi divided by period to replace the angular frequency over here. And this is what you get. And if you rearrange your equation, you get period is just 2 pi of square root of length of pendulum divided by gravitational acceleration. So this is the equation for period. For frequency, you can substitute 2 pi times frequency to replace the angular frequency over here. And this equation is just 2 pi frequency equals to the square root of gravitational acceleration divided by the length of the pendulum. Now, if you bring this 2 pi over to the other side, you get the equation for frequency. And it's 1 over 2 pi square root of gravitational acceleration divided by the length of pendulum. And now we have obtained the equation for period, and we have obtained the equation for frequency. And again, you notice that the equation for period and the equation for frequency are just inverse of each other. And you can obtain them using this relationship over here. Okay, so this is how we derive the period for a simple pendulum. So we see that if the length gets longer, if you have a longer pendulum, then you have a greater period. That means it swings slower. Okay, if you have a shorter length of pendulum, then you have a shorter period. That means the pendulum swings faster. So G here is 9.81 if it's on Earth, but if you move to somewhere like the moon, then you have a lesser gravitational acceleration. You have a lesser gravitational acceleration. What will happen is your period will increase. Therefore, your oscillation will happen slower. So this is the relationship that describes the period of a simple pendulum.